Hey guys, Dan here with Battlefield Curator. How does this election change the gun community? What are my thoughts? What do I think it might change? What has it already changed? We're going to go over this, but first I'd ask you to pulverize that like button and subscribe for the algorithms. Also check out the merch link in the description. Get yourself a cool Battlefield Curator t-shirt. Thanks. All right, so first off, we saw something here that we haven't really seen before. We saw that Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz openly talk about their gun usage. We also saw a Democratic nominee that was running for Senate, also openly share photos of going to the range. The Democratic Party probably wanted some more votes from gun owners. They probably wanted to show people that having a weapon for self-defense is not a bad thing. So somebody that was on the fence about buying a gun or just probably never thought about it, they might think, hey, I see that, some of the people that are in charge here are open about their ownership of guns. They're not against the Second Amendment, or at least they say they aren't. So maybe now that they have a different perspective on gun ownership for personal defense. There's people that live in some of these cities that have to deal with violence all the time. And violence on the street. I mean, I was talking to a guy the other day who, about a couple years ago, got jumped when he was in Tennessee, in Memphis. He's an avid gun carrier now because he almost lost his life. So some of these people might think about these situations. They might hear things on the news. They might say, okay, well, these politicians in charge here, they're actively talking about, they're openly talking about their gun usage and their gun ownership, so maybe it's not a bad idea to go out and buy a gun. So that probably is going to change the gun community for the long run. So there might be more programs out there for training people, for helping people out, new gun owners, and there might be some more emphasis on gun safety. And speaking of gun safety, we got to talk about Lucas Kuntz. So he went to the range with an AR-15 and his buddy, another politician, and they also brought a reporter with them. Well, they were in the backyard range. They were shooting AR-15s, and they were shooting it at 10 yards. And they were shooting at steel targets. So if you know anything about 5.56, it's a high-velocity round. You don't want to shoot that at 10 yards at steel targets because you're going to cause shrapnel. It's a very unsafe thing to do. On top of that, there were so many other things that went wrong with these photos. You saw that one guy had a scope, and it's like, you just don't use a scope on an AR-15 at 10 yards. Like, this must be a staged photo. But no, it wasn't staged at all. They were actually shooting these things. And at one point in time, they shot one of the steel targets, and the shrapnel hit the reporter in the arm, and they were kind of just smiling like nothing happened here. This is just a normal part of going to the range. And it's like, no, this is totally unsafe. You also had another guy that didn't have his eye pro on when he was shooting, or at least when the photo was taken of him shooting. So a lot of unsafe things. And this is an example of what not to do. Lucas Kuntz did not win the Senate seat there. It was actually won by Josh Hawley, and this was in Missouri. So it might be, a good thing that, hey, it might be a learning thing for Kuntz, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, publicly post photos of myself being very unsafe at the gun range, trying to promote my my gun ownership stance. All right, now let's move on to what President Trump could do as the 47th president when he takes office, and how that could change the gun community, right? So I think he is very pro-gun, though he's pro-Second Amendment. But when we look back, he did ban bump stocks. Later on down the line, the Supreme Court shot that down, and bump stocks were available again. The one thing I think he might do here is he might put people in charge of like the ATF, of like other organizations that deal with gun safety and gun violence prevention. And he might put people in charge that are pro-gun, people that have experience with gun ownership and actually know what it's like on the street, what it's like on the range, what it's like at the gun stores. So he might actually put people in charge that are competent and know what they're talking about and know and have ideas of how to combat these things. One thing I think he's talked about before is having teachers get concealed carry classes, maybe having more security at schools, maybe tightening up security at schools. I think there's just a lot of things that he could do here that would not hurt the gun community, but bolster it. I mean, he could also put people in charge of psychiatric type organizations where they are analyzing like the psyche behind people that do violent crimes or that commit mass murders. So I think he might put certain people in place that will help the gun community and also debunk some of the gun violence myths running around out there and kind of suppress the overall negativity towards gun ownership. All right, so I'm a military surplus weapon guy. Let's talk military surplus here. During the last 4 years of his presidency, or during the 4 years that he was president, I don't think he did anything for the military surplus community. I mean, you got to think, he's a businessman. He's going to talk to a lot of these other countries, and they're going to, go back and forth with business deals. So if anything, some of these countries, they might want to liquidate some military surplus. So maybe, I'm not going to say there will be, but maybe there might be some loosening of gun importation. I know one of the CEOs of a gun importer, and when I was talking to him, he was saying that, yeah, with certain people in the president's seat or certain people in office and certain parties in office, it's easier to get things imported into the U.S. So we might see some other types of weapons, surplus weapons, imported into the U.S., maybe some more M1 carbines, who knows. Also, the CMP's Civilian Marksmanship Program is a nonprofit organization that is federally chartered. So if there's certain people that speak to him, maybe there's some people that can talk to President Trump, maybe we might see some M1 Garands, some M1 carbines, some military rifles that were lend-leased to other countries come back into the U.S. and come back into the surplus market via the CMP. So my overall thoughts here, I think with President Trump winning the victory, it was kind of a landslide victory. There was just so much enthusiasm for President Trump leading up to the election. You had certain businesses, like big businesses, that weren't even endorsing Kamala Harris and the Harris campaign, which is kind of unheard of. I mean, you always had, these companies, these big businesses pick sides and donate hefty amounts of money towards certain sides. And now we see that President Trump is going to be the 47th president of the United States of America. And overall, I think he's probably going to be a lot more gun friendly, and he's probably going to help the gun community, not by a lot, but maybe by a little bit. And I wouldn't keep my hopes up for certain military surplus weapons coming in. But if they do start coming in, then you might know. Like if we get SKSs or if we get, certain things coming in from the CMP, we might say, hey, yeah, somebody's talking to Trump over there. Somebody's talking to his cabinet, his people in charge over there, and they're bringing stuff in. What are your thoughts? What do you think President Trump is going to be doing to help the gun community, to help military surplus importation? What do you think is going to happen in the next 4 years here? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, be sure to learn history and curate history. Pulverize that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Make it a great day.